Hi, and welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. C'est moi. Today I'm going to go over a bunch of things that have been going on in the SEO industry. A lot of news has been leaked, and there's been tons of Google leaks going on over the last couple months or so. And so I'm going to cover all that. And also I want to say that I'm going to be making more videos on a regular basis. I apologize for my hiatus. I've been making a major film-length documentary about Google and how they treat small businesses. And the production for that is about 99% done. So my producer is working on it now in post-production, and my director is working on it in post-production. They're making a cut of the movie and a new cut of the trailer, which I hope will be out early October. Of not a teaser like the last one to try and generate interviewees, but this is the trailer for the major film documentary. So watch for that coming out. In the meantime, however, I'm going to be making much more videos because tons of crazy stuff is going on. First off, as I said, there's a bunch of leaks that are going on that I'm going to get to in this particular video. And I hope to make a video actually twice a week or twice every other week. And I have coming up, for those videos, I have coming up a very powerful software has recently been released that allows you to do correlation studies, like the correlation studies that Moz does or that Searchmetrics does. In fact, it's just as powerful. In fact, in my opinion, it's even more powerful for a lot of reasons that I'll go over that you can tailor what it is you want to test. So I've done some experiments with this software. I've found some just amazing, startling results in terms of SEO knowledge and learning SEO secrets and stuff that Google definitely doesn't want you to know. So watch for those videos coming out. I'll show my findings. I'll show how it all works. And I now have the ability to do very powerful competitive analyses with this software. So if you're interested in a competitive analysis, if you're wondering how your competitors are ranking, or you're wondering what they're doing, or you're wondering what you can do differently, by all means, contact me, and I'd be very happy to help you out with that. Okay, now, so we have SEO rumblings going on. Very recently, both Google has reported two things that have been very important, and I'm going to get to the rest of the leaks in a second, from John Mueller and Gary Iles and Pedro Diaz and people like that who work for Google or previously worked for Google, and tons of leaks like this. And a little bit of the insight of what I found in some of this software too. But so two things. First off, one, Google announced that they're going to be doing more aggressive manual actions, and that for people who keep spamming them, they announced they're going to do more aggressive manual actions, and those people are not going to get their manual actions lifted. This is not anything new on the surface. I've already reported this years ago. John Mueller's already said this years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, that if you when Matt Cutts still was the head of web spam, they were doing aggressive manual actions on link networks and things like that. And any spammy sites or sites that keep breaking the rules or sites that, in their opinion, don't belong on the internet, quote unquote, they would do a manual action, and if you get no response and or if things just don't change, you're permanently penalized, and that's just going to be the way it is. Now, on one hand, people are saying, well, what's the big deal? They're commenting on Barry Schwartz's site, for example. What's the big deal? SE Roundtable, for those of you who don't know, which is probably the most important. As much as I disagree with Barry, I have to admit, in all fairness, it's definitely, hands down, the best SEO news site that there is. Hands down. Whether you agree with Barry's political views or not, right? People are saying, they like beating up on Barry, which is stupid in my opinion. They like saying, well, who cares? The black hat spammers who are doing this, who are really good at it, they don't care about manual actions. They just burn those sites and make new ones, right? Or they already know this is the case, and so this is not helping anyone. Why is Google announcing this? And I speculated, well, it is a new head of web spam, as I mentioned. That's there. Maybe he and or she has never said this before, and so they want to make it their policies clear or apparent. But probably, in my opinion, it's probably an indication, if history is any teacher in this regard, it's probably an indication of the changes Google is going to make coming up and the differences they're going to make. They're warning us. They'll warn us about this, but they'll actually do this. But they're still going to warn us because they like to think they're the good guys. So at least they gave us a warning about the wrong thing, or not didn't fully tell us what's going on, but at least they warned us, right? So that makes them the good guy. So I think that means that there are going to be more aggressive manual actions coming on. I think that That could explain what some of these ranking shifts are going on. Barry also reported a ranking shift in mid-September, and it came out right around they announced this manual action thing. So I think history is a guide that they usually announce these things kind of in a similar time frame to kind of explain what's going on, so people don't start to speculate, so we don't think too much creatively, right? Which can be dangerous, A, for their PR, and B, because we can actually start to figure out what's going on if we start thinking creatively. So I think that's probably what that's related to, but of course it's my speculation. Another thing that they've been talking about for a while now is Penguin. They've been warning about Panda, and then they released a constantly running Panda. I use the word real time, but it's not, of course, like real time, like you snap your fingers and it's there. You know, it's running constantly though. It is running constantly, Panda, because it can hit you anytime, and it seems to be, as I said, both an on-crawl and a user metric-based kind of system that probably relates to one another. If there's lots of SERP bounces, for example, which is an algorithm they do use, Moz has proved it. Tons of my personal experience have proved it. Clients have come to me, they've said, oh yeah, they proved it. So you don't want you want a high CTR. You don't want them to bounce back to the SERP, definitely. And I think that's used as a quality. I think they have some static Panda things they look for, which is still in my Panda list. You can find it at themoralconcept.net/Panda list. Again, that's themoralconcept.net/pandalist.html. It's the Panda 4.2 list. It's still a static list of all the Google leaks of the specific things, not the vague 23 questions that Matt Cutts wrote and put Amit Singh's name on. It's the specific things that they think are low quality, because of course that's a subjective determination, so we need to ask them, well, what exactly do you think is low quality? And they admitted it, and I collected all that information and put it in this list. So I think they're still working with both, and they can calculate something called what I call quality rank from that, and that can sync you at any time. So every single Hangout I have to mention, because every single audit I do, and I do lots of SEO audits, I fix a lot of sites, I help a lot of people rank page one. If you have any questions about that, by all means email me. Before I forget, you can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski, where I rant and say many things, and give out SEO tips and knowledge and stuff like that too. And of course, you can watch more videos like this at youtube.com/jbachynski, which is probably where you're watching this now. Although some people do embed my videos sometimes in various places. Even hate articles against me. So I thank you for the free advertising. I must be doing something right. If you don't have one or two hate sites dedicated to you, you're not trying hard enough. So they've been, so that's Panda. Now, Penguin, the other demon, Penguin. They haven't released it manually, as far as we know, for almost a year now, probably over a year. No, less than a year. They released it last year, December, mid-December. And they haven't run it for a while. I don't think they need to run it. John Mueller admits they have real-time spam algos. They have real-time link spam algos that run. I think they've used the disavowed data to do machine learning on it and find some parameters that correlate strongly enough that they use a Bayesian filter to determine, all right, if it's over X% of spamminess, we are not going to trust these links. We're just going to take out the page rank from these links. If there's not certain factors that make them trust the links, then if they look even remotely spammy, then they don't. Lots of people have found this and seen that they're in the sandbox or whatever. And lately, though, black hats I talked to have saying it's been getting easier. Not that I'm a black hat myself, of course. You see my hat back there is blue and white. So whatever that means. Whoa! Sorry, a little SEO humor for you. I completely lost my train of thought. That's again SEO humor for you. But so some links are trusted, some links are not. Black hats I've been talking to have told me that actually it's getting easier. They're just buying links again, like back in the old days, and they seem to be ranking. I've taken a look at what they've been doing, and I think that it's because, again, they have those trust factors, either on-site and or off-site. Like there's click-through the links, for example, is one trust factor that I think is an important one. Many people think is an important one. So, not that I'm telling you to do that. That'd be terrible. Don't break Google's rules. Tisk tisk. But yes, so why are they going to run Penguin? So they have real-time quality algos, real-time spam algos that are running all the time. John Mueller has admitted this, point blank. People love when I say that too. But so why even bother making another penguin? I don't know. It could be that they feel they have some kind of moral responsibility to finally let those people out they penguinified a year ago. I doubt it, though. They know very well they don't have any moral responsibility. They're completely, utterly immoral when it comes to this, despite their protestations to the contrary. I think it's just a smokescreen. They're warning us it's coming. Maybe for some of their white hat friends that they rub shoulders with in conferences, who are still, of course, doing gray hat, black hat things, because every SEO is. SEO in itself is gray hat necessarily, because the rules are vague, and so there's always the chance that you will go over them at Google's discretion at any time. Like, for example, what if you were to go and buy a bunch of text mentions or no-follow links? They say that's perfectly fine, but if you're doing it for the intent of gaming their algorithm, then it's not fine. But for them to call you on that, they'd have to admit that that would actually game their algorithm, which does, by the way. In my opinion, with the experiments I've done and the sites I rank on a regular basis, it's part of my process to get no-follow links and text mentions, because it's not against the guidelines, but it does seem to help rank sites. So that's what we're doing. I recommend you do that as well. But see, because I'm doing it because I want to rank sites, and that's the reason why I'm doing it, and why any SEO does it. That's why SEO is, arguably, in some way, always black hat. Anyway, philosophical discussions aside. Yeah. So why they're running Penguin? It's anyone's speculation why that is the case. But I would take it on face value that they could get more aggressive with an ongoing link running algorithm. That it's just a Penguin, as far as my experiments show for Penguin 2, I have really good videos on it showing some really conclusive data. That is just, again, another Bayesian filter. If you have over X% spammy exact match query links to your exact match domain or exact match page, which, by the way, this correlation testing I've been doing shows very strongly, you should still name the page. The page only in your URL string. The page only should have the exact match keywords. Exact match keywords in the domain do not necessarily help at all the way they used to, other than unless it improves your click-through rate, because people are looking for cool dog costumes, and you have cooldogcostumes.com, and they go, oh, I guess I can get cool dog costumes here, so they click it, and your click-through rate is high. Having an exact match domain doesn't help in any way other than that, and there's lots of evidence to show that's the case. Anyone who disagrees, by all means email me, and we can talk, but I deny it. Every time I look and I'll see you have a high click-through rate or some other reason why you're ranking very highly. I can show you a million sites on shows there's no correlation. And Moz's correlation software and SearchMesh's correlation software recently in the recent results shows there's no correlation with exact match domain to high rankings, at least not a very high one, and not as high as it used to be. It's gone down every single year, every single time. So I'm not really sure what Penguin's going to be. I would take it as a warning that, stuff that could be coming up in the future. Now, let's get to the leaks that John Mueller, Gary Iles, and Peter Diaz and various people have been doing over the last 2 months. And I'm not going to go over the ones that I've said multiple times. I again, go back in my previous videos and you'll see every week I'm leaking different stuff. And there's overlap and it gets more conclusive. I wouldn't go past November of last year because it might not be still relevant. That's the same for any SEO video. Any SEO video you're watching, you should know when the date is. The date today is December 26, 2015. So John Mueller admitted again October 14th in one of his regular hangouts. He accidentally admitted that dwell time, good usage, and conversions are all factors for ranking, for quality. You want people to, quote unquote, stay longer and do more. I'm not saying they're direct factors, but they are factors for ranking that you can look to see. If your dwell time is 30 seconds, when you know very well it takes a minute at least to do an order, you've got a problem, right? It should be, if you have a blog that has 3,000 word editorial articles and your dwell time is 15 seconds, you've got a problem, right? There's a user metric problem that Google is directly tracking, I guarantee it. Or indirectly, it's definitely a problem. Either way, I guarantee those sites are not going to rank very well or rank for long, or those pages are not going to rank well. And I've seen this all the time. And he also mentioned conversions as well. And Matt Cutts did mention 2 years ago or so at SMS Advanced, while he was still working for Google, he did subtly hint and give out to everybody, you should put autocomplete on your forms. I'm not saying it's a ranking factor yet, 2 years ago, but you should put autocomplete on your forms, and you should make sure that you're getting conversions. So it only makes sense to fix this. If you can improve your conversions, good. Whether it's an SEO factor or not, which I'm starting to think that it is. Either part of this user metric thing, or they might even have an algorithm that tries to do conversions on your site. They might have the Googlebot, which is nothing but a Chrome browser, actually try to do a conversion and go to a point where it cancels. It's possible. Or at least check to see if you have autocomplete or how easy it would be to fill out these conversions. And they can see how happy people are by if they bounce back to something else or do another search that's exactly the same or semantically similar. Then they're going to realize that it's all going to calculate into whether or not you are a good match for this synonym collection of queries, right? And they'll also rank you broad match. They'll rank you broad match and they'll de-rank you broad match because they're trying split tests all the time to see what pages work best for what semantic. And if you've got a lot of clout for these semantics, they can give you more clout for other semantics. Again, just check your search console and you'll see you'll rank for all kinds of synonyms that maybe you didn't even try to go for. They're ranking on broad match and they will possibly de-rank on broad match. That's not to say that you shouldn't still be worried about the exact match. You should, but you should also keep in mind the broad match and not be so obsessed with the exact match. Plenty of sites I try to rank and pages I try to rank, I think I'm going to rank for best red apples, but instead I get top red apples. I'm like, okay, fine. So then I optimize for top red apples and boost it up even a little bit more. It depends. If you can get 5% of the 10,000 traffic of best red apples, or if you can get 20% of the 2,000 traffic of the top red apples, it's a math equation. You have to figure out what's better. And sometimes this is an SEO tactic that people have been using for years. Sometimes it's better this is another way you can go for the low-hanging fruit. Sometimes it's better just to not fight Google. In fact, it's always better, quite frankly, to some degree, not fight Google and do what Google wants and go with Google, because then they will rank you, right? So if they want to rank that page for top red apples for some reason, and it's getting sufficient traffic, and it's easier to go for that, then go for that, right? Optimize it for that. Make some other page about best red apples. Although, if you go for top red apples and best red apples on different pages, that's starting to get fairly spammy. I would just collect all that, excellent, top, best synonym product on that page and just go for the one and just make sure it's robust and all the other SEO stuff is in place, good user metrics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Good references, good offsite references of all types, links, do no follow links, social mentions. And I quite frankly like the latter two than the first because of the problems buying the first or acquiring the first. Although if I get them, great. I don't disavow them or something stupid like that. Don't disavow anything, by the way, unless you get a manual action. Never touch the disavow file ever. All you're doing is either A, wasting your time, B, feeding into Google's machine learning, or C, if it actually does something, you're de-ranking yourself. You're invariably going to throw links in there that are good, that they're counting towards you, because you don't know what they're counting or not counting. And you're actually going to hurt yourself. This is like cutting off bits of flesh because you think you might come up with cancer in the future. You don't cut out tumors until you have one. I apologize for the extreme example for anyone who's had to go through that. But you know what I mean. Anyone who disagrees simply wants to sell it as a service and doesn't know what else to do. Okay, so I did warn you I ranted a bit on these things. So, by the way, he also mentioned that Googlebot does not always load lazy loaded content. So if you know what lazy loading is, it's when you scroll down and then more stuff appears, you scroll down, more stuff appears, like a continuous scroll kind of a deal. Or not necessarily, you could just load it later. Keep that in mind check your Search Console Googlebot crawl, what they show you they rendered. Oh, and by the way, it's also, remember, they require you to unblock your CSS and JS so they can see the full page rendered as it is. And they do consider it cloaking, by the way. John Mueller specifically said it's cloaking, and bracket implication, we will in some way demote you if you block your CSS and JS. And we can't, and if whether it's on your site or not, and we can't fully render that page the way the user would see it. If there's a difference, there's a reason why they show you what Chrome sees and what Googlebot sees. Now, it boggles the mind why they don't just why they even provide that, why they honor robot text declarations. Why don't they just why do they make that a directive and just use it as a suggestion? The same way they make 300s a suggestion or 302s a suggestion. They'll play with any of that. Or canonicals are suggestions as opposed to a directive that they have to follow. My guess is that it's because a lot of big companies are still using the robot text to throttle what gets crawled or not. And that it would make a huge problem for Google if everyone just deleted the robot text and allowed Google to crawl everything, because then Google would have to handle it. And that would exponentially increase their processing and crawl time and make a huge problem for them crawling the web. So that's why they still have to honor robots text, but at the same time, they need to see actually what the page renders for, because they're doing some ranking calculation on that. They don't give a shit. Like they're not there to be nice people, and robot text has nothing to do with being nice either, right? There's a reason why they show you what the Chrome user sees and what the robot text inhibited Googlebot sees, and you have to compare the two. If there's any difference, there is a ranking problem. So you can't have any difference. That's why they show it to you in Search Console. By the way, it reminds me, I'm going to be making a video in next week or the week after I show you this really powerful correlation software that I've been playing with and some mind-blowing results. I'm going to actually make a video. People have asked me for years, and I've been lazy, so I'm actually going to do it. I'll make a PowerPoint up, and I'll show you a video of all the SEO tools that I use. All the SEO tools that I use. By the way, Search Console is one of them, and one of the most important ones. The second most important one, probably. If not the most important one, arguably, because you can't tell you have a manual action if you don't have Search Console installed. And you can't tell you're being crawled if you don't have Search Console installed. And those are two major SEO things. So arguably, it's the most important SEO tool out there. And of course, it's free, and I'll talk about it later. But with all the rest of my SEO tools, which are also very, very powerful as well. Most of them are free. If not, I'm looking at my list right now. One of them is not free. But all the rest are free. So boom, I'll be getting that for you too, very shortly. Whoever makes my hate sites, make sure to update that with all this new stuff I'm doing. Yes, so, by the way, on that lazy loaded content thing that John Mueller said, if, for example, just theoretically speaking, you happen to have an affiliate site, and just for example, academically speaking, you wanted to hide your affiliate links so that Google didn't realize that you're just a spammy affiliate site and would derank you or give you an affiliate thin content penalty just for that reason. Theoretically speaking, you might want to look into how lazy loading works to make sure Google can't see your cloaked affiliate links, so that Google can't just give you a thin content penalty for that completely biased and, in my opinion, unsatisfactory reason. Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to make money. Again, academically speaking. Okay, so now, August 25th is when I started playing with this correlation software. So let me just tell you some of the results. 1, Open Graph type tags, which are schema to tell Google that you have a Facebook associated, I believe it's only for Facebook, I could be wrong with that, but you have an associated Facebook account, are trending very strong for high correlation. Also, having 1.7 to 8 social page references on your page is also trending very strong. And the authorship markup, remember the authorship markup that they supposedly removed and no longer helps you? It's still trending very strong, correlating very strong for higher rankings. And Twitter counts are even doubly so, especially so. If you have a link to your Twitter page and your Twitter page has a link back and you have a lot of interaction on your Twitter, that is now, surprisingly or not so surprisingly, trending very strong. So I just want to say that all this authorships type, you put a link to your social page and your social page has some kind of link back to you or at least talks about you a lot. Google is seeing that reciprocation and is using that as an offsite reference. I knew they've been doing this for well over a year because I've tested it with SEO tests. Now this correlation software is backing up what Google has secretly leaked and already admitted in Hangouts over the last two years, what I've tested and already know, and many SEOs have tested it and speculate and have a strong suspicion over the last 2 years, and now know it because this correlation software backs it up, you see? So now we've got 3 levels of evidence as opposed to just 2 levels of evidence. We're getting 3 levels now, which is getting even stronger. So I'm telling you guys, it's a game changer, quite frankly. I can't wait to show you. I have to make PowerPoints to show you all this stuff because it's the data. It's like data. They use Spearman's coefficient or whatever the hell it's called, and all these fancy statistical analyses that I barely understand. I didn't study that in grad school. I studied political science and political theory and philosophy and ethics and things like that in grad school. I didn't do, and some scientific, some psychology, some scientific studies. I didn't do statistics, however. So I fully admit I had to, this guy, the guy who made it is a great guy, Ted Kubitis. I had to ask him, okay, so how does Spearman's thing work? So he sent me a video, I learned it, I'm like, okay, keep going, and so we went on like that, right? But don't worry, there's all the meaty stats for people who understand that and want to look at that, the nuts and bolts, and there's also the end result, and it says, okay, here, do this, and shows you the correlation in just an as simple as percentage, like 90% of the sites ranking on page 1, on spot 1 to 5 for the SERP, all have this, 0% have this, and then you can compare it. And I like to do a special little trick, which I'll show you, which makes that correlation even stronger. So anyway, it's fantastic. It's coming out. I'll be making that video probably next. And one of the things we found out by using the software, which confirms suspicions and evidence that we already had, is that the authorship markup still works. Still use it. Still, especially if you have a robust, used, organic-looking social page with followers and retweets and plus ones and whatever, all those things, and comments and talking. Social shares have a much lower correlation with ranking, which makes sense, right? Although I find that if you start tagging influencers, it makes your social page more powerful, maybe. So again, make sure you have links to your social pages in your index page, and make sure those social pages in the website field link back to you, or at least mention you a lot, and have interaction there. Don't just have like a snoozeville where tumbleweeds are blowing through and you keep putting out posts that are crappy no one cares about, but no one's there following you or commenting or talking, right? So again, everything I've been saying, but now I have some more software to back it up. Okay, now, August 28th, John Mueller said some more interesting stuff. He said, and I'm going to go through this mostly rapid fire, don't have lists of keywords, links or not, don't have extra exact match keywords. Don't have lists of keywords, whether links or not, on your page, and don't put them in title or alt attributes. That's all keyword stuffing that will demote. You want to have a certain keyword density to be sure, but it has to be a natural keyword density of just mentioning stuff in your text naturally. Just make sure you mention it. If you want to rank for best red apples, the page should be called Best Red Apples. You should probably have Best Red Apples or something close to that in the title, but that's mostly for click-through rate at this point. The correlation software agrees, by the way. I can't wait to show it to you. Sorry, I'm SEO nerding out. And most importantly, in your text, especially in the top above the fold, you want to mention Best Red Apples once or twice. And again, if this article is supposed to be an informational article and you want to make it easy for people, have a bullet list of the points of the article. Too long, didn't read at the top. A TLDR kind of thing, so that people don't go, and I don't have time to read this and bounce back. Okay, now, he mentioned something else very interesting in his Hangout, that if you have extra links inside your editorial content, that they are quote-unquote boilerplate. And before he equated boilerplate with cruft, and he said very specifically, cruft is exactly what Panda looks for. So again, he's admitted, and you see how you have to interpret John Mueller now? You have to watch him for years and know what he says, what he means when he says something. He's admitted for years, and I've been telling you for well over a year, not to have exact match query links in your blog, and they consider that boilerplate. They're going to A, ignore them, and B, demote if you do it too much. Okay, moving on. Your rich snippet markup can increase your click-through rate. And if he admits, and then that's his subtle way of saying it will increase your ranking, right? Or at the very least, it'll increase the traffic to your site because it increases your click-through rate. So make sure you have your schema correct so you can possibly have the rich snippet markup, and make sure you have reviews on other sites, right? You should have 20 positive Yelp reviews, 20 positive Google Plus reviews, 20 reviews on Better Business Bureau, or whatever else industry site for you. Yeah, if you're not getting these, if you're not incentivizing them by by being so awesome, people are doing it naturally, then ask them, did you love us? Please give us a comment. We'll give you 10% off your next blah, or whatever. Incentivize it that way, or just buy them from aged accounts. You need these positive reviews. And if you got any negative reviews, you've got to go and get rid of those, by the way. So you need the schema installed, you need the positive reviews, all that stuff. Whether you're local or not, it doesn't really matter. If you can get it, great. Also, he said here's something, again, very interesting about the correlation software that I will be showing you the results from, that I can do competitive analyses with coming up. John Mueller said, and I quote, he said, it won't increase your rankings, but do it anyway. He always gives this, it won't increase your rankings, but do it anyway spiel. In my opinion, that increases your rankings, right? Whenever Google tells you to do something, it's because they want to rank you on it. There's no other reason they care, right? There is no other reason they care, and they change their tone, and they change what they're saying. They say, it will, of course, will not help rank you. I can't admit it'll help rank you, but do it. If he tells you to do it, it's because they want to rank you on it. Either now or in the very short future they're going to, or they see it's possible that they might. So you've got to do it anyway, right? Whenever they go out of the way to deny it, it's probably a ranking factor. Or at least a good bet that it is, especially if the correlation agrees. And in this case, the correlation minorly does. The correlation minorly agrees that schema markup in your Google result ranks you higher. And that ranked higher sites have that, right? So there's good information there. Again, correlation is not causation. I'm not saying it is. So think carefully before you respond. Or think as carefully as you normally do, internet. And if you're not showing if you've got a technical problem with the schema, they will never trust it again, he says. 1. 2. And if you have a low quality site, if you're having Panda or quality algorithm issues, they have multiple quality algorithms, by the way. If you're having Panda or quality algorithm issues, they will not show the schema either. So if you had the schema showing for a while, now you don't, you have quality problems. And or you've done a technical change and now you've broken the schema and now they're not going to trust you anymore. So good luck getting it back there. You might, but highly unlikely. He also said, don't have cruft over the years. Again, he's mentioning cruft. Don't have, and I quote, old content which is not relevant anymore, quote unquote. He does say how this will demote or they'll hold back your new content, right? They won't trust it anymore. We will not trust your content. We don't know if we can trust your content because some of it is old and out of date. And so we don't know if we can trust your new content. That's what he says. This is him saying it will demote you, it will derank you. Remember that links off the homepage, not an editorial, if you can avoid it, but links off the, at least not exact match keyword like buy best red apples. When you're clearly trying to rank for that, that's clearly a search phrase you're trying to rank for. Don't make those links. But check out our great red apples. That would be a fine link, right? Great is a synonym for best anyway, so that's good. Still broad match, and you can have that right in the main page. Don't have it like 5 links on the index page. But remember, the index page is where you want to link to your most. Page rank still matters. The index page is where you want to rank your. I just think they're adding more into page rank than do follow links. I think no follow links and mentions are getting some benefit there, or even not that algorithm, some other algorithm. I think. Maybe even possibly people see your text mention, they highlight and go Google search and then click your result, right? People say navigational queries do boost your user metrics, and Google's been saying for years, have a short URL so people can remember it, type into Google and click your result. And he said that specifically. They have to type it into Google and click your result, and that would be good. He's admitted that. Point blank. So remember that for your top ranking pages, your most important pages, you have to have them linked on the index page. If you want to sell red apples, green apples, and blue apples, red apples, green pears, and blueberries, those links have to be on your main index page. Those are your 3 top ranking pages. They may not rank your index page, but they will rank these sub pages, right? And that'll tell Google those are the most important. All your internal page rank, all the page rank flow to your site will flow to those pages. That's what you still want. That's what you still need to do. Okay. They have absolutely no problem with snippets of your article on your index page. So if your index page wants to be just snippets of your blog articles, that's perfectly fine. Just that's not the problem. The problem is make sure your blog is magazine level quality. If people are not sharing it and not commenting positively, then it's not good enough. I repeat, if people are not sharing it and not commenting on it, it's probably not good enough, right? Check your user metrics to make sure people are enjoying that content. Don't trust the average time on site Google Analytics stat that comes with it. You have to install a JavaScript event that fires every 5 to 15 seconds depending on your site and the time intervals you can expect based on your content to see roughly how long people are staying. And like I said, if you have a blog and with a 3,000 editorial page article without the snippets at the top and people are bouncing within 5 seconds, you have a problem. Don't trust the average time on site. You got to install this JavaScript stuff. If you don't understand it or want me to install it or tell you how to do it, email me. Again, at joshbachynski@gmail.com. As I said, he said this is where he admits any differences from what the user sees and what Googlebot sees is cloaking. Bluntly, he said this. He says they don't trust if it is cloaking. He says, and I quote, we can't use it one-to-one, right? From cloaked to non-cloaked, if we have a choice between the two, non-cloaked will get higher, right? So either a boost for them or a demotion for you. Probably a demotion for you. Don't do it. Each page has to have enough content that it stands for itself. It doesn't matter. It could be 3 sentences if that's all the page needs to be, if that's what answers the question. Longer is probably better because a shorter answer, as you find on Twitter, is usually not sufficient, right? You usually wish you have more than 142 characters because ideas can just sometimes be more complex and can be expressed in 142 characters. Twitter. He reminds us that above the fold cannot only be ads, so I wouldn't have more than 50% ads. In fact, I wouldn't have any major ads above the fold. I know that it gets lots of clicks, but that's the problem. They want each page to satisfy and in fact, delight people, not be a funnel into some other site because it was so boring or crappy. So I would leave them there, for now, but check your user metrics, make sure user metrics are good. And if your user metrics are bad and you have ads above the fold, that could be a problem. If you've been hit by quality problems, then ads above the fold are one of the first things that I would try and change. I might make it a floating right sidebar or a bottom scrolling ticker. You know the eyes are going to see it, but at least they can read the page, and Google might not have a default algorithm to demote that because people rarely do it. Okay, so that has been 37 minutes and 47 seconds when I looked. So that's all I'm going to be able to get to today. Unfortunately, there's more stuff from Pedro and Gary Allen wasn't even able to get to. Next time, as promised, I'm going to show you this amazing study I did between page 1 ranking and page 19 ranking. How to rank on page 1 and how to rank on page 19. Subtext, you want to rank on page 1, you don't want to rank on page 19. So you want to correlate with all these signals, and you do not want to correlate with all these signals, right? So I'm going to show you that next video. Moving offices. I'll be out of this office and into a new, better office. And so I don't know when I'll be able to get to that, but hopefully next week sometime. But as I said, I want to make more videos on a regular basis. I'm back, baby. Now that most of that work is done. All I have left is a TED Talk coming up in Belfast on November 30th. I'm presenting a TED Talk on the future of Google search and ethics, which some of that footage will also be part of the documentary. Then we'll release the documentary early next year. So I'm here to help you. If you have any SEO questions, I'd love to help you out. By all means, email me, or if you have a beef, you want to yell at me, get in line and email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can also watch more videos like this at YouTube/JBachins, JBCHYNS. And quite frankly, you can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski. You also follow me on Google Plus if you like, but I post there very irregularly. So with that, I bid you adieu, and good luck in the SERPs, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.